Hello and welcome back to Host City Americas. Hope you had a chance to visit some of the exhibitors' booths there and chat with one another. Great attendance here today, fantastic content. The opening panels have been extremely engaging, very exciting. And now we've got a particularly interesting special guest here today. He's a gamer. His name is Callum Knight, and he has something like 700,000 followers on YouTube. And I checked out his channel, and I think he's more used to being welcomed to the stage with chants of CPK. We can't do that now. But anyway, over to you, Katie, to speak with Callum. Look forward to this. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. My goodness, this is my third and final session of Host City Americas. But who better to finish it off with than Callum, known as CPK, as Ben said. So I'm going to give you a short introduction and then I'm going to leave you to speak because it's you that the people want to hear from and we only have 10 minutes. So CPK, aka Callum Knight, right here on your screens, is a world record breaking gamer best known for Minecraft and a content creator for esports team Misfits Gaming. He does, as Ben said, have nearly 700,000 followers on YouTube, as well as strong and rapidly growing communities on Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. I'm running out of time to list all the channels, and he streams daily to thousands of viewers. So, let's get stuck in. I said we've got 10 minutes. It's been a wild ride so far. You've had your face plastered across huge screens in Piccadilly Circus for the launch of Xbox's Jump In campaign. And as Ben referred to, only last week you had an arena full of fans chanting your name when you took to the stage at VidCon in LA. But how did it all start?
Yeah, first of all, thank you for the wonderful intros from both you and Ben. Yeah, I think for me, gaming as an interest started like when I was really young. I actually used to play on my great granddad's Atari when I must have been 2-3 years old. So I've always used my free time for gaming. I just sort of fell in love with it really young. Then growing into my late teens, early 20s, I was kind of not sure what I wanted to do. And I enjoyed trying to be funny and I enjoyed gaming. And I found a real love in connecting the two things and decided to start uploading videos to YouTube. I think a relatively early adopter. I started uploading videos in 2012, so it's been 10 years now. And I actually took it as my full-time job in 2015. So when I first started, the monetization and the ad revenue wasn't really there. So you were just doing it for fun, which I absolutely loved still. It wasn't until a few years into it, I had one video kind of really take off. And I was lucky enough to start earning as much as I was at my full-time job. And I sort of very quickly decided to pursue full-time content creation. And here I am 7 years later, still just about riding it out.
It's absolutely incredible. I think the longevity as well, and the fact that gaming now has intersected so much with the mainstream and with lifestyle and gamers and content creators in the kind of gaming esports space are being recognized by brands, by wider fan communities. Like, how has it changed in that decade that you've been making content?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely been a huge shift. I've gone from basically the only like extra work I would get alongside YouTube was kind of things like, hey, we have a game coming out. Do you want to check it out? Whereas now, I mean, as you mentioned as well, I've worked alongside Xbox, Microsoft as a whole, Sony. I've worked with skincare brands. The brand knowledge in gaming, especially, is really growing, and we're still seeing it growing now, to the point where we're seeing content creators have their own TV shows, or they're getting picked up for Strictly or Dancing on Ice, and it's very validating to see. I think my job is still relatively unknown. I think people are still confused by it. I'm still a little confused by how I get to do something like so much fun that I love every day. But we are seeing more and more mainstream things realize that there is actually a big importance in picking up these content creators. We spend years curating audiences and letting them know that they can trust what we're saying or our opinion. Or, I mean, I know I have personally. And a big part of having this community is getting them to understand that you will not intentionally mislead them. So they have a lot of belief in the things that I say, and I constantly try to make sure I'm, doing and saying the right things.
And that's interesting, right? Because you would think, okay, somebody's been doing this for 10 years, they're going to become increasingly polished and slick. But that's not actually the ambition. The ambition
No,
is to connect in the most genuine way possible, right?
yeah, and I think that's the fun thing is like even to this day, I've been doing this for like 7 years. Like my office is a spare bedroom in my apartment. You know, it's I think the real attraction to this is that it is very raw. It's very honest. It's just me sat playing games in a room. Like it's very relatable. Anybody can do this. I've gotten very lucky and I've worked very hard to get to where I am. But I think the relatability of it comes from we're all doing the same thing. I'm doing the same thing as when people get home and fire up a game and play for a couple of hours to take the stress off. I'm just lucky enough to get it to do it full time.
And can you tell everyone, because I think this is going to blow their minds, how hard you work? Because I've started working with you and I don't know people who put in as many hours as you do. Whereas I think in people's minds, it's like, oh, gaming, like that must be tap in, tap out.
Yeah, there's definitely a bit of I think it's still a little bit misconstrued in that people think that it's a very easy job. And again, I've always said I will never ever complain about this job because I get to do what I love every day. There are definitely times when it's stressful. I mean, as you'll know, Katie, June was I think the busiest month I've ever had. My only days off where I had nothing to do were the 3rd and the 22nd. Every other day had something, and that's not including my daily live streams, which are 4 hours a day there, and then 2-3 hours of working on YouTube content, and then keeping up with Twitter and keeping up with Instagram, and it's very full on. You've really got to love it to pursue it full time, for sure.
And this is, I mean, the demands of your fans. We were talking in the previous panel about the demands of fans and what they expect. You're talking about streaming 4 hours every day. This isn't a question of, oh, but I'm not really in the mood today, or someone invited me out to do something really interesting. You will actually exchange mid-afternoon fans for streams for doing them in the middle of the night if necessary, in order for people to know that you're there.
Yeah, I mean, my usual time is 1 till 5, and luckily today I was actually taking today off. I mean, I would have traded it in for this anyway, but I did get back in from LA about 11 p.m. last night. So I'm running on a little bit of jet lag fuel at the moment. But yeah, if I miss one during the day, I will often try and see if there is a way for me to do it at night. If I can't do 1 till 5, I'll usually do 10 p.m. till 2 a.m., which is fun because it hits a different audience as well. But we don't really miss streams out here. I really try and keep it consistent.
Yeah, it's unreal. And one of the things I also think is interesting is the first panel of today, we were talking a lot about how events used to be predominantly live. And then we moved into this kind of virtual world, which is great because you can access more people and more people can enjoy what's happening. But actually in your world, you sometimes go a bit in the other direction. You start out virtual and then you move into a live space, which I think is interesting for people to understand.
Yeah, because I mean, obviously with YouTube is like VOD content, so video on demand. I can spend a week to make that video. Whereas when I live stream, it's all completely live. There's no way to cut anything out. There's no filtering. And then we transition into almost live, which is what I just did at VidCon, where we had a bunch of people that are our friends, and we went out. I think there was about 3,000 people in attendance. And it's the first time we've sort of all got together and gone out on stage, and then we do sort of these live events. So it is it's almost like the opposite. Usually you would see maybe actors or TV personalities go down that road of doing television and content like that first, then switching over to social media. Whereas I think now what we're seeing is an influx in growth in people starting this end and ending up in the more mainstream facets of like television, radio, music, especially.
And we're running out of time, but what is the future for gaming, for the esports content creation that you do? I mean, more than one person in the last week has said to me that seeing the reactions to you guys at VidCon was quite similar to looking at the Beatles, right? So gaming is obviously growing. What's coming next?
I mean, I guess, especially in an industry that changes so much as this, it's impossible to give you an exact answer. But as I said earlier, we are seeing such a massive increase in people moving from what they love doing, still doing that, but then also getting opportunities in the mainstream. I think we're going to see that increasingly in the next few years. I also am expecting a lot of things to pop up. We're seeing YouTubers turn into million record sale artists. And I think that that's definitely the kind of stuff that we can expect to see as brands become more knowledgeable in content creators, and content creators aren't so afraid to jump into the mainstream, as it's almost like kind of what you try to avoid, I suppose, when we're content creating, because we are so raw, we're so unpolished. But if you're willing to take the opportunities that are passed on to you, then you can do a lot of stuff in this industry. And I'm excited to see what happens next for myself and for everyone else in this industry.
Sounds like you just volunteered. All right. Well,
I'm ready.
much. Look, 10 minutes on the dot. Ben, we're handing back over to you. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope everybody's now going to be following CPK. I'm trying to understand how the gaming world works, but I'm not the one to ask for advice. Thank you very much, Host City, for having me and for having Callum, and best of luck with the rest of the panels.